Yo, what's up guys, it's Turn here, and today we're back with the fourth video in the breaking down the winners matches. So the last match we will be covering is the Seattle Surge versus the Atlanta Faze. So this is a match that we just saw this weekend. Surge ended up 3-0ing Atlanta, which was crazy because I'm not even sure when the last time that Faze has been 3-0'd was. But looking at the standings for this split. Um, we have Seattle 4-1, Faze 3-2. So pretty close in records. Obviously I think Seattle probably has the head-to-head matchup win because they did smoke Faze 3-0 the last time they played. So plus every time Seattle and Faze play, it's always a good match. So that'll be interesting to see. So let's look at the KDs for these players for this stage. As you can see, at the top of it is Celium with a 1.23 as expected. His KD's always pretty high. And then the next, you have Pred and Abizi, superstar subs for both teams. So I think that's pretty normal as well. Below that, though, you do have accuracy with 1.05. Now that's the crazier one for me. Is right here, because accuracy is not really the slayer on this team. He's kind of the IGL player. In the last video, you might have heard me talk about how those players are kind of overrated. When it came to that Minnesota team, I think for this team it's the exact opposite. I think Lamar is very underrated. I think he brings a lot to this team. I think in terms of IGLs, normally it's an AR. When it's a sub player, it's a lot harder. That's why I think Bance doesn't have as big of an impact. But yeah, I think Lamar playing well and getting the amount of kills that he's been getting and just the engagements overall from him has been a huge turnaround, and I think that it's super important to the reason why they are 4-1 in the split. Um, I think this is not really something you expected from them to have Lamar be their second best player. You kind of expect it to be Sib just because of who Sib is, the young gun. But yeah, Lamar's been playing exceptional for these guys, especially in the hard point and the controls. And then Pred is obviously just doing Pred things like he does. But yeah. So when you kind of look at these two teams, if we just look at it in terms of roles, like player to player matchups, I think Manear is slasher in accuracy. I'm probably taking Lamar this split over accuracy or over slasher for sure. I think Lamar's been playing very well, kind of unexpected, and I think that if he keeps this up, sky's kind of the limit for them. Um, and then if we go to their flex players, you have Sib and you have Celium. Celium's KD is always going to be high. Sib's a bit more inconsistent, but I think Faze probably takes that one for sure. Um, Kind of looking at Simp versus Mac, it's very similar. 0.95 and a 0.94 for them overall for this stage. Um, but Simp is a caliber of player that, like, if he gets going, I think there's not really a lot of people that can fuck with him. Um, so for me, I think he kind of edges out Mac in that. Mac is a player where he can get hot, but he can also go really cold. So yeah. And then Pred and Abizi, comparison, I think they're pretty equal. They've both been playing very well, especially as of recent. And yeah, that team, or those two teams, like, kind of just rely on those two players. If they're playing well, it kind of opens up the map for the entire team. I think that if you would have taken out the Seattle match from Abizi's KD, it would have been much higher. He was playing exceptional before that match. I think Pred did a really good job of just kind of shutting him down, as well as his other teammates. But I mean, superstar sub, shutting down superstar sub. I think it's kind of the story for that series in specific. I think for this one, when it comes to land, I think Slasher gets better. Um, I think that Seattle's such a hit or miss team. We never really know what we're gonna get from them, but just kind of going off of recent form and not anything else outside of that, I think that Seattle should have an edge in this series. Um, I think the thing that makes Faze over the past couple of years, when you talk about Cold War, when you talk about Vanguard, is that their control is very good. That's why even though if they lose the first two maps, they're never out of a series because they always have that thing where you can just kind of get back into a series if you win that control. You roll that momentum into a hard point, and then it's game five tied. Other teams' confidence is normally pretty far down after blowing an 0-2 lead against FaZe, which has happened a lot. You've kind of when I said this team hasn't got swept, it's for a reason. Like they've lost maps ones and twos plenty of times. They just never get cleaned up in the 3-0 fashion that it should be. Um, yeah. I think for these two teams, the main thing I'm kind of looking at is if Slasher picks it up and if Lamar stays the same. I think that's going to be the determining factor for this matchup. I think Cell's KD is always going to be what it is, and I don't think Sib has to really live up to that for them to win the match. He just has to do what he normally does when they go to land and just fry for them and let Mac and Accuracy kind of put in the pieces around Pred and Sib, and just make sure that the team's locked in, mindsets are good, and they're playing well. Um, I think this, for me, in terms of the matchups in round one, this is one for me that most people probably won't think it's as one sided as it is. But I'm going to pick Seattle because I think that just when it comes to Faze, they always come out and they play big, right? But like they play up to Faze every single time. And I think you saw that in the last match. And I think that this Seattle team, just the way they prepare, like FaZe prepares very well, don't get me wrong, but the way they prepare is just kind of unmatched by some of these other teams. I think FaZe is also an easier team to prepare for because you know what the players are gonna do. It's not like they're doing anything crazy. Abizi's gonna run at you. Simp's gonna just do his thing, kind of a slower player. Cell's gonna play for his KD, and Slasher's just gonna kind of be the backline. But when you look at a team like Seattle, how do you really prepare for that? You never know if Mac or Sib is going to be playing as well as they normally are. If they do, it changes the entire map. With Lamar playing as well as he has been, I think this is a very scary team. Um, when I talked about the Thieves match and the Optic match, I told you guys those are 1-2. This is my three. Is Seattle. Um, I think that those three teams are by far and away, in terms of like how they've looked in the qualifier, just better than the other teams. I think when you go and you look back at the other standing or at the standings, you see New York, you see Vegas. Those teams are both 4-1 as well, but I don't think they're on the same calibers as other teams. New York has the potential for sure, but I just like Vegas's matches weren't clean, even the ones that they won. They ended up losing to London, who, as you guys know, is a bottom three team. Like they're just not very good. Um, so yeah, I think for Seattle, I think it's just being confident in your ability, having Lamar play the same way, and you'll be fine. But yeah, sorry for the video being kind of short, guys. Um, this one for me was a little more clear cut than some of the other matches. I think some of the other matches kind of swung either way. Um, but yeah. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to leave a like, comment down below what you guys think about these two teams and who will win this match. Um, this video might actually be out by the time the match is up, um, or that the match has already happened. So who knows? Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, but these are just my opinions. So I will see you guys in the next video tomorrow. Peace out.